The air crackles with anticipation, a collective holding of breath across the internet. The name Sean Combs, or Diddy, or Brother Love, whatever moniker he's sporting these days, hangs heavy, a dark cloud refusing to dissipate. We thought, many of us hoped, that the storm had finally broken. Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, the raids, the avalanche of accusations. It felt like the empire was crumbling. But then came the settlement, the whispers of backroom deals, and a sense of profound injustice settled in. It's like watching a magician pull off the ultimate disappearing act, only the rabbit is justice itself. And now, into this simmering cauldron of frustration and outrage, steps Jaguar Wright, a voice that cuts through the noise, unafraid to name names, to challenge the powerful. Some dismiss her as a provocateur, a loose cannon, but to others, she's a truth teller, a necessary disruptor willing to risk everything to expose the rot at the core of the entertainment industry. She's not just offering opinions, she's claiming to have inside knowledge, direct contact with a victim whose story could unravel everything. This isn't just about Diddy anymore. This is about a system, a network of influence and power that protects its own, even when those individuals are accused of the most heinous crimes. Ally Carter, another figure who briefly flickered in the spotlight before seemingly being silenced, hinted at it. She spoke of powerful people beyond Diddy, politicians and industry titans who would be exposed if the full truth came out, but Ally's disappearance, however brief, cast a chilling effect, a stark reminder of the forces at play. Now, Jaguar Wright is picking up the torch, stepping into the crosshairs. She claims to know the identity of Diddy's male victim, the one the government allegedly helped him silence. This isn't just hearsay. She claims to have spoken to him, to know the details of his ordeal, to be privy to evidence that even law enforcement doesn't possess. If true, this could be the earthquake that finally levels the playing field, that forces accountability where there has been none for far too long. But why now? Why after the settlement, after the apparent closing of the case, is this information surfacing? Perhaps the perceived leniency of Diddy's sentence, the feeling that he's getting away with it, has emboldened this victim, fueled a desire for justice that outweighs the fear of reprisal. Or maybe, as Jaguar suggests, the government believes they've successfully contained the damage, that they've managed to keep the focus solely on Diddy, preventing the rot from spreading. Whatever the reason, the stakes are incredibly high. This isn't just about one man's alleged crimes, it's about the integrity of the justice system, the power of the elite, and the courage of those who dare to speak truth to power. It's about the victims, the silenced voices, the lives irrevocably damaged by abuse and exploitation. Will this alleged victim finally find his voice? Will Jaguar Wright be able to amplify it, to break through the wall of silence and denial? The world is watching, waiting, and hoping that this time, justice will prevail. The promise of exposure hangs heavy in the air, a threat to those who have operated with impunity for far too long. The details are chilling. A man allegedly raped, his body, the crime scene. Blood, semen, torn clothing, irrefutable evidence. Evidence, mind you, that seemingly vanished into the ether. How does that happen? How does a case with such damning physical proof get buried, manipulated, and ultimately dismissed as collateral damage in a much larger, more insidious game? Ally Carter tried to warn us. She spoke of payoffs, of district attorneys complicit in silencing victims to protect powerful politicians. But her words were dismissed, chalked up to bitterness or a thirst for attention. Now Jaguar Wright echoes those claims, but she goes further. She names names, risks her safety, and throws down the gauntlet. She says she knows who these victims are, who the politicians are, and she's not afraid to expose them. And then there's the curious case of Diddy's sentencing, from facing a century behind bars to a measly 4 years. Please, that kind of disparity doesn't happen in a vacuum. That's the sound of strings being pulled, favors being called in, and the scales of justice being deliberately and disgustingly tipped. Jaguar Wright believes Diddy had dirt on powerful people, Information that could bring down empires. And those people, she claims, made sure he wouldn't sing. Remember the initial outrage? The prosecution seemingly going for the jugular, exposing every lurid detail of Diddy's alleged behavior. Judges denying bail, victims subpoenaed, even Cassie Ventura, pregnant and vulnerable, forced to recount horrific experiences on the stand. It felt like a reckoning was finally at hand. We wanted the perp walk, the twisty ties, the image of Diddy humbled and brought to justice. We needed it. The victims deserved it, and frankly, the world needed to see it. But then, the narrative shifted. Allie Carter, poised to testify about the alleged abuse of children, was sidelined. Her testimony deemed too explosive, too likely to implicate figures beyond Diddy. The focus narrowed, the scope contracted, and the opportunity for true justice seemed to slip away. And what about the 100 witnesses allegedly involved in the case? Did they all get a chance to speak? Did prosecutor Maren Comey truly pursue every lead, every avenue of inquiry? Or was there a deliberate effort to steer the investigation away from certain uncomfortable truths? Allie's disappearance just before her scheduled testimony is particularly unsettling. Poof, gone. Only to reappear after the trial, claiming she was silenced to protect others. The whole thing reeks of manipulation, of a system designed to protect the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. Then there's the issue of how Cassie Ventura was treated versus Diddy's children. Cassie, a grown woman when she allegedly suffered abuse, was subjected to intense scrutiny and judgment. Yet Diddy's children, some of whom are adults, are treated with kid gloves. Their involvement in the case deemed inappropriate because they are just kids. The hypocrisy is staggering. And let's not forget the enablers, the people who knew what was happening, who saw the abuse, who cleaned up the messes, and who kept their mouths shut for a paycheck. The hotel staff, the managers, the security guards, the FBI agents who allegedly turned a blind eye for years. They are all complicit, all guilty of perpetuating the cycle of abuse and exploitation. The Department of Justice, too, comes under fire. Accusations of withholding evidence, of selectively releasing information to control the narrative. The parallels to the Epstein case are chilling. Are we being lied to again? Are we only being shown a carefully curated version of the truth? But amidst the darkness, there's a glimmer of hope. Jaguar Wright claims that despite the fear and intimidation, Diddy's victims may finally be ready to come forward. The alleged male victim, armed with never-before-seen receipts, may finally be ready to tell his story. And if that happens, the carefully constructed house of cards may finally collapse. The simple fact that those people could see all of the stuff that they saw and not even convict him is unbelievable. The point of this trial and everything that's happened was to make it just about Diddy, so the entire industry could move forward and things could keep operating. The simple fact that Michael Rubin is now throwing the white parties that were supposed to have been shut down. The simple fact that things are quietly falling back into place. And then she drops the name Derek Lee Cordello Smith, a name that should be echoing through the halls of justice, plastered across headlines. But instead, it's a whisper in the wind. He sued Diddy back in 1997, alleging a horrific assault while working as a bartender in Detroit, a spiked drink, a blackout, and a violation so profound it shattered his life. He claimed Diddy confessed to the assault, a chilling admission of power and impunity. But here's where the story takes another bizarre turn. Diddy, according to Jaguar, went to a prison in Detroit to have a conversation with a man who was framed and put in jail for nearly 30 years of his life. What was that conversation about? Was it an attempt to silence another potential witness? To bury another secret? And then, a week before Diddy was taken into custody, Smith was granted a $100 million default judgment. A strange coincidence? Or a calculated move to silence him with money? The questions pile up, each one more disturbing than the last. What kind of power does Diddy wield to be able to orchestrate such a complex web of deceit and manipulation? Who are the people protecting him? And what do they stand to lose if the truth comes out. Jaguar Wright's claims are incendiary, but they resonate with a deep-seated frustration that many people feel. A sense that the system is rigged, that the elite are above the law, that the voices of the victims are being deliberately suppressed. The reaction to her pronouncements is telling. Some are scared, terrified by the implications of what she's saying. Others are grateful, inspired by her courage to speak truth to power. The industry, as one commenter put it, is terrifying. It's a world of glamour and excess, but also of dark secrets and hidden abuses. It's a world where talent and ambition can be exploited, where power can be used to silence and control. But there's a growing sense that the tide is turning. People are waking up, clocking in and using their brains. They're demanding accountability, refusing to accept the status quo. They're grateful for the JAG's courage in stepping up and revealing the industry's evil deeds that have destroyed so many innocent lives. The question now is, will this alleged male victim finally come forward? Will his testimony be enough to break through the wall of silence and bring Diddy to justice? Or will the forces of power and influence prevail, allowing him to escape the consequences of his alleged actions once again? The world is watching, waiting, and hoping that this time, justice will finally be served. The stakes are high, the risks are great, but the potential reward is even greater. A chance to expose the rot at the core of the entertainment industry and to create a world where the voices of the victims are finally heard. The promise of exposure hangs heavy in the air, a threat to those who have operated with impunity for far too long.